Hello. I don't know if anybody's here with me punctually. If you are, I'd love to hear where you're from. So to your right, there's a chat box. It says stick in where you are from in the world, and I can usually see your name. So it would be lovely to hear who's punctual, arrived punctually and with me already. So I think perhaps nobody yet, but I am sitting here all ready and waiting. It's always so fun to come on and see. I get people from all over the world. It's just fascinating, and I just love giving these talks. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, and there's a lot of preparation. I have to really think about it, and I just really enjoy talking to people, and I particularly enjoy talking to people about potty training, which is what you're going to hear tonight. So I don't know if anybody has logged in. It doesn't look.
I'm sitting waiting. Are you sure you've launched it fully?
Yeah, it says I'm on air.
It does say on air. My thing is still saying starting soon.
Definitely doesn't say that anybody's joined.
No. According to this now. It's kind of weird. It still says starting soon. You're fine. It says starting in 2 minutes, I think.
Yeah, but that's because that's the start time.
Well, that's what it's saying. I must say, I thought it opened. I'm just going to relaunch.
That is weird. Do I do panic button? What does?
No. Just don't panic.
If anybody's joined me.
There's nobody on a control.
No.
Just hit the live link again. It's still not saying it's on. But it says starting soon. Yep.
Are we on?
Hold on, caller. Just doing it again.
It's saying 1959, and that's very odd.
Okay.
What? When you say okay?
No, okay, you're on.
I'm on. I am live with you. I've been sitting here slightly worried because I've been on for a while and nobody else had joined me. So if you are here with me already, a huge welcome. And perhaps you could just say hi and where you're from in the chat box to your right, because it's always quite nerve-wracking to know whether I have gone live for other people. Okay, well, it is dead on start time, and I'm delighted to have whoever has joined me join me. Just for my own reassurance, if you are joining right now, if you could say hi and where you're from in the chat box to your right, and then I'll know that other people have joined me. So a very, very warm welcome. to my workshop, How to Succeed at Potty Training Without Fears and Frustration. And I know if you have signed up for it, that this is something that you're interested to hear. So I am just going to move on. But before I do that, just give me 1 second. So I am just checking something from my tech department, aka my husband is just checking something because it seems strange. Normally at this point, I've got a lot of people joining me, and I just don't know whether there are some tech issues. So if you can just bear with me for a second while I check some tech things, because I have a feeling that people haven't, somehow that there's something wrong with the link. So I'm going to just wait, because I don't want anybody to miss out in case there's a problem. If you are on and you can hear me, please can you just say hi in the chat box and tell me where you're from. No, I don't see anyone there. I'm just going to do one thing, so bear with me, and I'm going. Hi, I'm back again, and it just doesn't look like anybody else has joined yet. So a little bit tricky, because I don't want anyone to miss it. And I'm just waiting to see if anyone from tech can sort me out. No. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just carry on, because hopefully if you haven't got on, you'll have got the recording. So I'm going to actually go back and start again. Anything? Okay, I'm going to start again. I'm just going to go back to the first slide and I'm start again. Hello, I am delighted to be here with you tonight. This is Camilla McGill, and I am here to talk to you about how to succeed at potty training without tears and frustration. And I am experiencing some frustration right now, because I have a horrible feeling that people haven't got the correct link, or that there's some issue with the tech. And perhaps you're going to have to watch this after the beginning of the workshop. And you know, there's kind of situations where you're just not quite sure what to do. Well, I'm in one of them right now. So just if you are watching as a replay, I do apologize for some kind of tech hitch, which meant that you didn't log on. So I'm going to move on and give you the workshop anyway. So I'm Camilla, and I'm the founder of My Parenting Solutions. And I have been a parent educator for 20 years. That is a job I'm absolutely passionate about. I love working with parents. I love helping them. I love helping them to transform their family life. And it makes a huge difference to me when I get positive comments, which I do so frequently. There's testimonials that come through saying, you know, I tried what you said and it worked, and it's made a huge difference. So it's a job that I absolutely love. The other job that I love is being a mother. and I have 4 children, and I'm very, very proud of my children. And I've also had a lot of difficult experiences, which has very much shaped how I work with parents and the empathy I have for parents, because I really do understand what a difficult job it is. I'm also totally passionate about potty training and helping parents get potty training right. It's a really, really important stage in a child's development, and to get it right and have that child make a really positive leap in their development is just a great thing that you can do as a parent for your child. It isn't always completely straightforward. And tonight, I'm going to be telling you the 3 secrets to help make it straightforward and eliminate some of the problems perhaps that you've been having already. So what I'd like you to do is take some time out. This is time for you. And I'd like you to take time out and switch off your distractions, because it's an hour that you're going to give to yourself, an hour for your own learning. Other things can wait. Replying to emails can wait. Watching another program can wait. Looking on Instagram can wait. And, watching, responding to those alerts, all that can wait. So just take the time for you and you won't regret it. So today you're going to learn the 3 secrets to successful potty training. And maybe I'd love to know why you're here. So I'm getting some other people coming on, and I'd love to know why you're here tonight. Maybe this is you. And if this is you, give me a 1 in the chat box. Perhaps you feel like you've messed up and maybe you've barely started. So if that's you, give me a 1 in the chat box. You may have you may give me more than a 1. I'm going to go through 4 different options. So you may be a 1 and a 2. So I'm going to check. So number 1 is that you feel like you've messed up and you've barely started. So if that's you, give me a number 1. If you have been going at this a while and it's just a battle, or your child has regressed, give me a 2 in the chat box. And if you just bear with me 1 second, I've just got to ask my tech department a question. If you have arrived, pop your name in the chat box. Okay, great. And I'm just going to ask my tech department something. So as we all know, tech isn't always easy, so just bear with me a minute. So thank you for bearing with me. We're just getting out a direct link for you to come in, because we think that there have, for some people, been some tech issues, even though some people have joined. So if you've been going at this a while and it's a battle, or your child has regressed, give me a number 2 in the chat box. Okay, great. And if you have a specific wee or poo problem that you just can't solve, those problems typically are that your child will only poo in a nappy, or they have poo accidents, they do not ever make it to the potty to poo, or they have wee accidents, or they hold on to their wee, or they hold on to their poo. So those are typically some of the problems that parents come across. And I'm just going to pause again because I think I have another tech issue. So just give me a second. Right, here I am, Camilla. We've had quite a lot of tech issues, and I do apologize that the link wasn't working. So I think I've now finally got people joining me, and thank you so much for your patience. And if you could just write in the chat box to your right where you're from, and I really appreciate that you've waited 10 minutes to join me. I've been sitting here not quite knowing what to do. You know, I think we all know, particularly in this day and age, how frustrating tech issues are. I have no idea what happened. I've done other webinars, workshops where I have no problem at all. The link works, and for some reason this time it didn't. So please say who you are, where you're from in the chat box, so I know that you're with me. And the chat box is there to your right. And I'm going to carry on now with the class, and you have missed nothing because I've just started from the beginning. So I'm Camilla McGill, and I'm the founder of My Parenting Solutions. I'm a parent educator of 20 years, and I'm also a mother of 4 children. I absolutely love the job that I do as a parent educator. I find it incredibly inspiring to teach people, work with them, help them transform their family life, give them lots of ideas and tips for a different approach. It isn't easy being a parent. In fact, I'd say it's the hardest job in the world. So I completely understand where you are. And I'm also, I'm a mother of 4. So I've been through so much with my own children, who you'll see shortly in a photograph. But I have experienced so many things, and the things that I teach people and coach people in are all things that I've generally experienced myself, or I've worked with other parents who've experienced and found that I can help them can really make a big difference to their life. I'm also really passionate about potty training. I love helping parents to get potty training right. It's an extremely difficult skill, and it is not straightforward. So I can still see some emails coming in saying that people aren't getting haven't got the link. I could also see the numbers are creeping up. So if you have joined and you can access the chat box, please send me a message to say that you're on, that you can hear me, because more and more people are saying that they're waiting at the webinar entrance. Just bear with me 1 second while I ask my tech department a question. Okay, I'm hoping that some of you have now got the link and have been able to join me. I do apologize that for some reason there was an issue with the link that was sent out, and it's telling me I've got people on, but I'm not seeing any replies in the chat box, which is puzzling me. So if you have joined me, please pop your name in the chat box. And just 1 second. As I was saying, okay, it looks like we've got some extra people come on. So please, can you say your name in the chat box and tell me where you're from? So as I was saying, and I'm absolutely passionate about potty training, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about tonight. And I will spend extra time because we're late starting. So thank you so much for your patience with an unenvisaged tech issue, which has made me feel very frustrated and stressed. But anyway, there's nothing we can do about it. And you're here now, so thank you very much. So time to take time out. So pop your name in the chat box and tell me where you're from. Lovely. I would really like to encourage you, now you're here, now that the ridiculously frustrating link has been fixed, that you take this time for yourself, you switch off your distractions, and you, just, as if it was some brilliant television program that you wanted to watch and nobody could disturb you with, make this time tonight like that. So today, this is what you're going to learn about. You are going to learn about the 3 secrets to successful potty training. It's something that I'm absolutely passionate about. It's not easy to get potty training right, and you can come across all kinds of problems if you don't. So I'm going to ask if this describes you. To those who finally joined me, perhaps you feel like you've messed up. Maybe you've barely started, but you just don't feel like you're making any kind of progress, or So if that's you, put me a 1 in the chat box. You're going to get 4 different options, and you may be more than one of the options. So if you feel like you messed up and you barely started, give me a 1 in the chat box. Maybe this describes you. You've been going at this a little while, and it's a bit of a battle, or perhaps your child has regressed. So give me a 2 in the chat box if you feel that describes you. You've hit some regression, or you've hit a battle, or they just don't seem to want to engage in the potty training. Maybe you have a specific problem. I hear about these problems all the time, and these are the ones that come up most commonly. That it's a specific wee or a poo problem. Perhaps you have a child that just doesn't ever poo in the potty. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes you've got no problem with poos, but you find that your child is wheeze, has wee accidents a lot. The other problem that I come across all the time is they hold on to it. So that can be that they hold on to wheeze, or they hold on to poo. So great, thank you so much. If you've just joined, so many apologies for tech issues. Sometimes they hold on so long that you're really worried about it. They get really badly constipated, or you're worried about urinary tract infections. So if that's you, give me a 3 in the chat box. So we had 1, which is barely started, but not really sure it's going anywhere. 2, somewhere in the middle, but you've hit regression, or you just don't feel it's very, very hit and miss. Or 3, you've got a very specific problem and you're having lots of accidents, or they hold on to their poo, or have lots of poo accidents, or they hold on to their wee. So those are, but you may be number 4. So you're just looking for a roadmap, and perhaps you haven't started, or you're just thinking, I'm really not sure how to go about this. So if that's you, give me a 4 in the chat box, and then I know where you are. But like I said, you might be a combination, of, problems, accidents, depends on where you started. Okay, so I would love to encourage you to stay to the end. I've got a lot to talk about, and I also have a very exciting bonus to talk to you about at the end. I am very, very acquainted with dealing with difficult children. I've dealt with my own when they've gone through difficult phases, and I work extensively with other parents dealing with specific challenges of tantrums, misbehavior, those kind of things. So I'm going to talk to you at the end about an extra bonus that's to do with that. So stay with me. So this is me. I want to know all about you, but just so you know who I am, I mentioned, for those that perhaps missed at the beginning, I'm the founder of My Parenting Solutions, and my name's Camilla. You probably got that from the emails that I sent you. But I have 4 children. At the bottom are my older 2 boys, Nico and Felix. many, many years ago. They are now 22, nearly 23 and 20. And at the top are my two girls, Scarlett and Alice, who are now 15 and 17. So I'm in full teen mode with those two. And here we are together on a climbing expedition in this summer. Felt very lucky to get a break. I know that a lot of you haven't. With young children, it's extremely stressful. You've all been through an extremely stressful 6 months, and it doesn't look like much is changing, or in fact, it's kind of going backwards. Anyway, we won't talk about that. Tonight is for you, for your own learning, and I hope to, take some time out and have a nice time. So why do I specifically love helping people with potty training? So here's my story. My first son, Felix, Nico, was relatively easy to potty train, and that can happen. Perhaps the state of mind that I was in at the time as well helped, and that's something that as we go through, I'm going to talk to you about mindset. But also, Felix was a very different temperament. They're all very different. Any of you that have got more than one child will know, or you've compared them with other children, they are all very different. And Felix was an impatient little character. He was very strong-willed and very determined. And I chose to potty train him without any proper thought about it, because I just had my third child and I thought it was a convenient time. So from one day to the next, it literally was like that. I sat on the sofa feeding, I looked at him and I thought, oh, he needs to be potty trained. He's older than his brother was, quite a bit older than his brother was. And people will often ask me about the age range about potty training. There is a booklet that you can get for free, which is called Get Set for Potty Training, which gives you examples within that. So I'm not going to dwell on it. But for me, the methods that I talk about are between the ages of 20 months, I'd say, was quite young on the spectrum. The kind of sweet spot, if you're starting, is between 2 and 3. But if you have a child that's 3 or older, don't worry, you're going to get some ideas tonight, and you may want to learn further with me, and I'll tell you how you can do that at the end. So Felix was approaching 3, and from one day to the next, I took off his nappies, and it really was not successful. He didn't engage in it. It went on and on. When he had constant accidents, he particularly hid behind the sofa to poo. I couldn't trust him. If he once went to a friend's house, I got a panic call from the mother saying he'd done a huge poo. The other children were making fun of him, and he was crying hysterically, could I come back and pick him up? And we were just quite miserable with it. In fact, we really felt quite hopeless. We tried all kinds of different things. We tried bribing him to use the potty, and he didn't respond at all well to that. We tried threatening him that if he didn't use the potty, then he couldn't play the game, or he couldn't watch his program, and that didn't work. It was incredibly frustrating. We also tried things like rewarding sweets or stickers, and that didn't work. He didn't make the connection, and then he'd scream the place down for the sweet, even though he hadn't used the potty. So it was having a really big impact on the family. And I don't know about you, if you've reached that stage, but when potty training goes wrong, it has a really detrimental impact on everybody that's around that child, including if they're at nursery, because nursery teachers or preschool do not like dealing with a lot of accidents, particularly if your child is of the expected age to be potty trained. It was frustrating. And the thing was, Felix really wasn't happy. And that was very, very sad and difficult for us to acknowledge. Now, I had worked in parenting by that time for 2 years. So, imagine my sort of shame that I hadn't learned specifically about potty training with my parent education training that I'd had. But I just thought, because my first child had been easy, that I would just apply the same techniques, and it didn't work. So he really wasn't happy. So what do we do to solve the problem? And that's what you want to know. And that's what I am going to share with you, how some of the ways that we solved the problem, one of them was that we got some expert help, because we knew that doing it alone wasn't working. You know, they say the sign of madness is doing the same thing over and again and expecting a different result. Well, that was the kind of stage we were at. We just thought that, you know, if we just kept on going with it, doing the same thing, finally it would click, and it didn't. So we got some expert help, and it really, really made a huge difference. One of the things that made a huge difference, and you don't always hear this in other from other potty training teachers, whether that's in books or from other people, is we taught him about the brain-body connection. And this was a real game changer for us. He loved understanding about the science of his body and very specific ways to help him understand what was going on in his body, and therefore know the signals and get the right, you know, interpret the signals that had him lead to knowing when he needed to do a wee or a poo. The other thing that worked, how did we engage him? We stopped telling him what to do, and we started working with him. It was a real hand-in-hand approach. And the really wonderful thing to see is that Felix stopped resisting us, and he wanted to use the potty. That little figure there was supposed to be a smiley face icon, but when I put it up on my slides, it came out looking rather strange. But he became so much happier. He gained so much more confidence. There he is, sitting on the table, chatting to me, and he became so much more independent. He wanted to do things for himself. He loved the fact that at nursery he could use the potty to the little toilet by himself. The teachers said they saw a massive change in him. He wanted to engage more. He had really become quite withdrawn, and we hadn't realized this had gone on for about 9 months. So, you know, it was really quite significant. So Gitty I want to tell you about Gitty. So she was in a kind of a similar situation when she came to me. I call her my worried mum of 3. So she had her third, she got 3 boys, she'd had her third baby. She'd had 2 months of really stressful times. Hers was the little boy that was afraid to let go. So he was holding it in, both wee and poo. And she was really, really worried that she'd done a lot of damage. And she found that through going through the program that I'll tell you about later, she got tangible solutions to implement right away. And she stopped feeling like she'd messed up terribly or that it was too late to change things. She said I had an amazing understanding of what a mother might be experiencing. People tell me that all the time. You know, I really do have empathy. With 4 children, it's been a rocky road, and I know how difficult things can be. And particularly, I know how difficult potty training can be. But I was, through the program, she was able to pinpoint exactly what had gone wrong and how to start to get back on track. And that's what happened. And her little boy is now really so much more confident and so much happier about using the potty. So if you don't feel confident that you're getting anywhere, listen on for ideas for connecting, for avoiding the resistance. Even if you're one of the ones that are thinking of starting, you may well hit resistance. So listen on to how to avoid that resistance and working in partnership to get the job done. And if you're one of the ones who was a 3, who's hit problems, or a 2, listen on for inspiration for your problem. So how you might figure out why your child's afraid of the potty, or why they're holding in poo or having constant wee accidents, or why they hold in their wee. And stay with me if you want to successfully potty train with a gentle and mindful approach. If you are interested in a wham bam, tell your child what to do and they'll do it, then this isn't the workshop for you. If you think that using threats or punishments is going to help with potty training, then you won't like what I've got to say. But if you're an active and involved parent, listen on. And if you want to learn more about positively connecting with your child, that's what you're going to get. And if you want to know how to sort out the problem, then stay with me. So are you still with me? And is this something, are you thinking, yeah, I want to stay, I want to listen on? If that's you, just say yes in the chat box. This is a workshop, so it's as interactive as I can make it. So do just say yes if you've already kind of identified with some of the things that I've said, then give me a yes in the chat box. And imagine, great, lots of yeses coming through, thank you so much. Imagine what it would feel like to actually enjoy the process and feel like you know your child so much better. Wow, what a great thing. And imagine this, imagine your child has become so much more confident and cooperative. I've said it already, it's a difficult and complicated skill for them to learn. We kind of assume that they're just going to get it, but when they do get it, they become so much more confident and more cooperative. Now you might think, Camilla, what do you mean? Why would a child who's potty trained successfully become so much more cooperative? Listen on, because I'm going to give you some really specific ways to help your child to become more cooperative. And actually, then things get so much easier. Not always, because children will definitely resist you, but listen on, because you're going to get ways to help them be more cooperative. And imagine this, you feel so chilled about it that you don't even think about potty training anymore. You can go on trips. You can drop your child at nursery and not be presented with 6 bags of dirty, pooey pants or wet pants. You can leave your child, well, when you're able to leave your child with a grandparent. I don't know if that's your situation at the moment, but you can leave your child with somebody else. You can just feel confident that they're not going to have endless accidents. The odd accident will definitely happen, because that's normal, but endless accidents is something that you will not have anymore. So where are we going with this workshop? Those of you that have joined late, you know, so sorry for what's happened, but here we are, we're together, and I've got loads of you on air with me now. So we're going to look at secret 1, and then we're going to go through to secret 2 and secret 3. And then I'm going to explain how you can take it further if you like what I say, and I'm going to take your questions at the end. I always want to know like where I'm headed with this, so I've added in that little map for you. So the 3 secrets to successful potty training. And here we are, is secret number 1. You've already heard me kind of, you know, mention, sorry, itchy nose. You've already heard me mention that each child is very different. So secret number 1 is about figuring out your child. Now, often parents come to me and they say, you know, Camilla, my friend's child just potty trained within 2 days. It was really easy for her, and therefore I'm hitting problems. Why is that for me? Each child is different, and you've got to figure out what works for your child, and not compare it to the other children in their class, and not compare him to your sister's children, or even, dare I say it, to an older child, because that's what I did. I thought, well, you know, why won't Felix potty train just like his brother did, easily? So I needed to figure him out and what worked for him. So actually, here's an interesting statistic for you, or bunch of statistics for you. It came from a very lovely charity called Baby Centre. You can go and check out their they've got quite a lot of free information. By the way, I hope you've got your workbook. If you haven't, I'm just going to pop up. It's there. Okay, it's on the chat. So if you have access to a printer, quickly print it off if you haven't already, because I'm going to get you to write some things down in it. So they did a survey of close to 500 parents, and they found that 23% of parents found potty training easy. Now, what we don't know about those parents is what information they had, what approach they took. However, these are some interesting statistics, and you might find this reassuring if you are one of the ones that were number 1 or number 2 or number 3 when I asked at the beginning, so hitting problems. 27% of the parents that surveyed found that it was a bit of a struggle. 20% found it very stressful, and 30% found it almost impossible. So please feel reassured if you're in that 73% of people that found, sorry, so I was struggling with maths here, 77% of people that found it difficult. You're not alone. So we need to know how to adapt the roadmap to suit your child. And this, watch for how you might get ideas on how to do that. Number one, big part of this is taking the pressure off yourself to get it over and done with. Some children take longer to potty train. There isn't a standard. I mean, what I find when parents follow my program is they put time investing up front, and then the actual period of potty training, and often they'll be restarting because they just decided that they need to go back to the beginning. But the actual time from removing the nappy or to be confidently using a potty and not having accidents is much shorter than they realized. But I want you to take the pressure off yourself, stop comparing, and just believe in yourself, because children will respond so much better to that. And what can happen if you don't have the right approach? You will get a child who may be traumatized, a resistant child who'll be traumatized or refuse to go near the potty. And maybe you've had that. You know, they become really fearful of it, or they just become very angry or aggressive about it. You'll start and stop numerous times. I'm not against parents stopping if they just feel it's not going well. But if you're starting again without a plan, then you're probably going to hit problems again. And you get far more mess out of the potty than in it. So that's when you've got the wrong approach. Here's Chandy. I want to tell you about Chandy. So Chandy had failed twice, and she was one of those people. She'd failed twice, and she did not want to fail again. And she went through the training, and she made a plan. And her child was potty trained so quickly. She said it was such a relief, and she wouldn't hesitate to recommend my methods because it just gives you confidence and shows you how to get your child on board. That little baby there, it was not the child she potty trained. She's got an older child, but she sent me a picture of her with the baby. So, remember that Chandy, once she got a plan, she then found the process so much smoother. I want you to really pay attention to this, and even write this down. You can write it down in your workbook. Stand in your child's shoes. Even get down to their level. We learn so much about our children when we just think about the world from their point of view, and it is often not what we realize. So there's an awful lot to learn about potty training by just thinking, okay, what's it like for my child? And already I suspect you've had thoughts and picked up ideas because you might have never realized just how difficult it was for them. You might not have thought that, actually it's quite common that children have fears. So, stand in their shoes and think about what potty training is like for them, and also what's the world like. Actually, I get a huge amount of people messaging me saying that their child has regressed, their child's having fears. Their world is different right now. So think about that. What is your child's world like? What can you observe about your child? So we're in secret number one, figuring out your child. And so think about what are their likes and their dislikes. And there's a place in your workbook you're going to write this down. So secret number one was figure out your child. And there's a place underneath that in your workbook to write down what are their likes, dislikes. What does my child particularly love doing? And that can kind of tie into their temperament. So Felix was the kind of child that liked, he needed to have lots of different activities. He didn't like to focus on one, and he was very, very physically active. So we had to kind of think about how to tailor our approach in relation to that. He also loved music. So that was another thing that informed us. And that's why I want you to put on your magnifying glasses and think about your child. also think about their fears and worries. Now, parents will often say to me, I can't work him out. It's just so weird. Why has he got a fear of the potty? Why would it, why won't he just let it, or why won't she just sit down on it? There will be a cause. And I'd like you just to, when you're standing in your child's shoes, think about what that might be. It may be that you can't come up with it immediately, in which case just think about this after you've finished the workshop. But what can you observe about them, and what can you notice about their fears and worries? Also, here's the good news and the bad news. Children are sponges. They pick up on everything. Now, the good news is we have a huge impact on them, but we need to be aware of it. So when I say the good news is the more positive we are, the more positive they will feel. So we have, now what will often happen, and parents will tell me this, is like, Camilla, I started off potty training really positively. I promised you I did, I had the real positive approach, and then it went on, and then I've started to become, I've lost my patience. You saw it with me at the beginning. I became incredibly frustrated, and I felt kind of despair as well. And children pick up on it. They pick up on our size, they pick up on everything, all our body language and everything, our tone of voice. So the positive and the negative are what they pick up on. So you need to inject and keep injecting the positive. And I have loads of ways that I help parents do that, but you just need to be aware that that's something that's very important. And the other thing is avoid the battles. Don't meet resistance with resistance. The minute you start to insist that they sit on the potty, in fact, the minute you start to insist that they do anything, you'll meet resistance. So I've got my two bears fighting there as an example. You'll lock antlers, you'll lock heads with them every time that you insist they do something. So you've got listen and watch on for alternatives to getting them on side and getting them to do what you want. Now, my methods aren't all about the child dictates everything. You have a really important influence on your child, and you want them to follow your instructions, and you want them to follow your suggestions. If you go into battle, they won't. So jot in your workbook some of your child's likes and dislikes and their interests and their abilities, and how do they feel about potty training so far. So what words could you put in that mean you might know about your child and how they feel about it so far? Now, if you haven't started, if you were one of the ones in the number 4 bracket, what do you want them to feel? How do you want your child to feel about potty training if you haven't started? But if you have and you've hit problems, jot down how you think your child feels about potty training so far. Okay. And now we're going to move on to secret number 2, which is about connecting with your child. So these 3 secrets feed into each other, and you'll see that from as I carry on how that the 3 secrets are connected. So connect with your child. Don't assume it's obvious to know what to do to connect with your child. You need to add to what you do already in order, if you want to harness the positive approach to potty training. But don't assume that it's obvious to know what to do. It really wasn't obvious to Chrissy and Dan, who were parents of little Otto here. They had also had an older child, Livy, who was very easy to potty train, and they had no problems with it. They hit massive problems with Otto, and he knew after nearly a year of struggling on, Otto knew that he was the last one in his preschool class to be potty trained. And as a result, he had low self-esteem and he was being teased. If you've hit that situation, please listen on and learn about how further I could help you with it. And if you don't want to hit that situation, same thing, because it can be incredibly damaging to a child if they start to be teased about it. And they said before founding my program, they were at a total loss for what to do to help him, and they felt hopeless. They found that the support was a godsend. Otto is now so proud of himself. He's got a newfound confidence that he can do hard things and that he's capable. To give that gift to a child, even if you have hip problems, to get them to understand that they're now capable of overcoming problems is a fantastic gift for them. So it's absolutely true that some children find it harder than others. You know, some children will walk later than others. Some children will have crawled later than others. They develop at different stages, and they find different things harder and different things easier. So it isn't your fault, and you can really help them. So here are 4 great ways to connect with your child. Listen up and write them down. Invest in emotional connection. I want to tell you about Laura and Russell. So they also found that their daughter had been traumatized by their first attempts at potty training, and they also wished that they'd got help sooner to avoid the months of misery. But undoing the damage, although it took some time, it got them back on the right track. When they emotionally connected, I talked to you before about they started to really understand what her fears were. They started to put her fears into words and play games with her to help her take it slowly and undo the kind of trauma that she'd experienced. So invest in emotional connection with your child. Engage them with the science. Children, even from a very early age, are fascinated by their bodies and by the scientific side of potty training. You may have watched the pre-training extra bonus video that I sent you, which shows you how to talk to them about the process of elimination. That's one aspect of engaging them in the science. In the program that I'll tell you about, there are other ways to engage them, and it's a really nice way to connect with them, to do sort of scientific experiments around it. The other way to engage with them and connect with them is to do some physical preparation and make it fun. Often when I'm helping people reboot or restart, I'll suggest, and the program that I'll tell you about will also give so much more detail about that. I'll suggest all the different ways that you can help them with physical preparation and making it fun. Making it fun for them really engages with them and connects with them. And raise your child's self-esteem with descriptive praise. So I want to ask you, what kind of praise do you use when you praise your child? So if you're going to say something positive to your child, in the chat box, just write to me and tell me what kind of things that you say. What kind of praises? Now, I know that you are positive parents. I know that you're not always positive because it's very difficult to maintain that positivity, but I know that you want the best for your child. So I'd love to hear from you, just to see in the chat box what kind of things you say when you're praising your child. As sometimes it takes a little bit longer to come through. Good job, you're the best. I've got. Great. What else do people say? That's a common one that parents will often use. Good job, you're the best. We often get good boy or good girl. We get well done or terrific. We've got I'm proud of you. Excellent. Okay, so I can see you're a big girl clapping, you're the best. I can see that you're positive parents. You're clever, you're amazing, fantastic. Okay, I want you to listen to this carefully because I want you to improve on that. When you are much more descriptive in your praise, it has a really deep impact on your child's self-esteem. So I'm going to reel off some examples. So if we go back to thinking about the child who we want to be able to pull their pants down, in terms of a practice and sit. Now, if there's anyone from North America, pants in our country are underwear. So just say, I mean, it doesn't really matter, trousers, pants, underwear. Say you want them to practice putting their pants down. So you could just say, well done when they've finished. But what I want you to say is something much more descriptive than that. So you're going to say, look at that. You hooked your thumbs on each side of the elastic of your pants, and you pushed your arms down, and that meant you pulled your pants down. And then you backed up and you put your bottom right down in the middle of the potty, and you sat on the potty to give it a try. Now that gives them a huge amount of information. And you can also add a quality. That was very grown up, that was very brave, and I don't like the use of the word clever. That's a whole other thing, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but you really thought hard about it, you might say. So you've given them a huge amount of information. And I want you to give them information about all their capabilities, not just potty training related. So here's a little picture of a girl climbing. Now, you could say, well done, when she got to the top. But how about you said, as you climbed up that rope ladder, you really thought about where to put your hands, and you held on tight so that you didn't fall. And you put one foot above the other in the right holes so that you could climb up to the top. Now, think about the information that gives them. It's really descriptive, and it gives them so much more information about what they're doing right. So that's a huge element, a huge part of what I teach people, along with helping to teach people about understanding their child's emotional world and developing emotional intelligence. But I haven't got time to go into all of that on this workshop. But what I'd like you to do now is write down how you could connect more with your child. What ways could you connect more? And maybe it's by using more descriptive praise. Maybe it's by investing emotionally. Maybe it's by having some more fun and games. So here's secret number 3. Focus on problem solving with your child. Parents will often think that they just need to solve all the problems themselves, and often they'll be feeling really stuck because they don't know how to solve them. And also, they're finding that their child's really resistant. So it's interesting when you change the language, and I'm all about how to help parents have a different way of communicating with their child, changing the language. I've showed you already some snippets of how to change your praise so that you have a different impact on your child. But when you focus on problem solving with them, they are so much more likely to be steered by you and take your advice. So your child knows more than you realize, and figure things out together. So I'm going to give you an example. Sometimes children will say that they don't need the potty because they are so involved in what they're doing. They've got what I call FOMO, fear of missing out. So they're so involved with what they're doing, and they don't want to stop, and then they'll have an accident, and then you'll say, why didn't you listen to me? I asked you if you needed the potty and you said no. So if you're going to figure that out together, you might present the problem to them. We've got a problem. You really love playing with your blocks, say. I mean, I don't know what they're playing with there in that picture. It looks like some kind of blocks. And then when I ask you if you need to use the potty, in fact, that's a whole other issue. I don't particularly like you constantly asking because it can cause resistance. But say you said, when I noticed I thought you needed the potty, you said no. How are we going to solve that problem? Now, you may have a child whose language isn't as well developed as that, but you can adjust it so that you're just presenting the problem to them so that you're going to be solving together rather than telling them that they have to stop. Really listen to what they tell you verbally and non-verbally. They are giving you all kinds of information. I was helping Annabelle, a mother of a little boy who was constantly having poo accidents, you know, the one that the sort of creeping behind the sofa one. And what she noticed when she really observed him was that he liked privacy. And so she was able to chat with him about how he could still be private, but not go and hide to do the poo. So that's just one small example of listening to what they tell you. They are giving you signals, and they may be verbal or non-verbal signals, but they are telling you things, both about whether they actually need to do you know, a wee or a poo, but also about their emotions. And so you've got to learn to really listen up. I'll often do this, you know, really listen up. And sometimes that's also with your eyes, about what they're telling you. And that's quite a difficult skill, but it's something that pays huge dividends. And problem solving together helps you decide what approach to take. So this is about working in partnership. And when you work in partnership, it takes the stress out of potty training. And it then becomes something you're doing hand in hand. It becomes, you know, I want your child to graduate from potty training and just feel that you've helped them along the way, but it's actually something that they've achieved themselves. So jot in your notebook how you could work more in partnership with your child. What activities or games or problem solving could you get into with your child? So, you know, maybe those activities or games could be around gardening, just to help increase that connectivity, and just, you know, increase and build on your emotional connection with your child. But also, what games could you do around using potty, and what problem solving could you have with your child if you've hit a lot of problems? So here, with what we've covered so far, we've covered the 3 secrets to successful potty training. Number 1 is figuring out your child, not in relation to other children, in relation to your child and what the world is like for your child. Number 2 was connecting with your child. So how can you connect with them? Perhaps by using that praise, perhaps by listening to their emotions, perhaps by getting involved in some extra different activities and games. And focus on the problem solving with your child, particularly if you've hit problems or if you've seen resistance. How can you approach it in a different way? Parents, I was talking to, what were their names? David and Elizabeth the other day, and they said they couldn't believe the difference in their child's response to them when they changed their approach. So often that's what it's about. You need to have a different approach, and a problem-solving approach with your child will often make things go so much differently, and you know, you'll get your child much more excited and interested in listening to your ideas because they've been involved in it. So here's the thing: potty training mindfully isn't just about getting the job done. It's also about deepening your love and your connection with your child and increasing their self-belief. And who doesn't want to have a child with strong self-belief? It's a hard enough world that they're in. They're going to hit so many bumps along the way. And you need them to really, really believe in themselves. And the reason that I love teaching people about potty training is because I bring all my parenting background into it. I am not just a potty training person. I have 20 years experience helping parents with all different problems, and I've worked on my own. So deepening your love and having your child have a strong self-belief is just such a gift for them. If you've just joined because you've had encountered my awful tech problems, we will send a replay, so you can, and I would encourage you to watch it back, watch back from the beginning. You'll be able to whiz forward. or rewind so that you can watch the beginning again. So have you learned something so far? If you have, just give me a yes in the chat box, and then I'll know that what I have said already has made sense to you, has kind of resonated with you. So if you've learned something so far, great. Give me a yes in the chat box. Thank you so much. Lovely. Okay, so I have a couple of questions for you, 3 actually. So get ready to type in the chat box, because I want to know if this is you. Do you want to get your child on board for potty training problems, or just potty training in general, even if you haven't hit problems yet, with a gentle and mindful approach? And if that describes you, give me a gentle in the chat box. So just put gentle in the chat box if you want to get your child on board for potty training with a gentle and mindful approach. Okay, great. So I've got some gentles coming in already. Lovely. And what if you learnt techniques to positively connect with your child? I've talked about that along the way. I've had 45 minutes with you to tell you some ideas about connecting on a deeper level with your child, but there are many more. So if you would like to connect more with your child to help them be more cooperative. Now, I think for those of you that are here at the beginning, it sounds funny, like, how can I be gentle and how can I connect more with my child to get them to be more cooperative? It's amazing how it's like a kind of flower unfurling. When you have a different approach, they want to please you and they want to listen to you and they want to be steered by you. So put connect in the chat box. And what if your child graduated? Thank you, lots of connects. Oh, the terrible twos I've got. Yeah, so it can really help you connect and when you've understood them and have a different approach. I'm not saying the terrible twos do happen, but there's still ways that you can make your life much easier with a different approach. So what if your child graduated from potty training and you felt like a better parent because of it? So if that's you, put love in the chat box. To see them go through that milestone and flourish and graduate to a potty trained child is just so wonderful. As parents, they're a part of us, and we cheer them on. You've already shown me how you say, good boy and well done. We want to cheer them on, and what better way to have them get through this such important milestone with your love and your support and your connection, and having learning a way to do it that's also gentle. So option 1 is take what I've learned. So we've covered a lot here tonight, and you can go back and review what I've talked about. Take what I've learned and have a go at it yourself. Statistics show that when we do things without support, generally they take longer. And they generally become, can generally be more stressful. So I have option 2 for you. What if I personally helped you and your child through the entire process? I've talked about people, I've talked about Chandy, I've talked about Chrissy, I've talked about Kitty, who got help through the process. And they were just so pleased that they got the help, and they kind of wished that they found it earlier. And parents often say that to me. So if you were a number 4 just starting out, I'd really encourage you to listen, to avoid the problems, because people think that it sounds simple, and for about 20% of people it is quite simple. But if you get off on the wrong foot, you can go through months, if not years, of misery with it. So listen to me as I explain to you how I could personally help you, and I'd absolutely love to help you through the process. So I've developed the program that I've talked about and referred to is called Potty Success Academy. It's been developed from my 20 years experience working with parents, and I've put the last about 18 months refining and improving it. So it was released first just over a year ago. I only release it 4 times a year, and this is my autumn release of Potty Success Academy. And I'm always improving it because I think you never stop improving, and also I get feedback from parents which helps me improve it. So it's about getting your roadmap. It's a 4-step proven system for positive potty training. And the positive is a really, really important part of it. You've heard me refer already to the methods of using descriptive praise. It's a difficult language to learn, and within Potty Success Academy are all the examples of descriptive praise and ways to use them, and extra workbooks to give you lots of extra examples of how to use the language and why it's so important. So step 1 is about getting centered and getting ready. It needs you to be in the right frame of mind, and it needs your child to be in the right frame of mind. And so step 1 shows you all the ways to get centered and get ready. Step 2, also known as module 2, is get set. So this is about bringing out the scientist in your child. It's also having you understand the science, and it's about how to nail that way to talk to them and the way to listen to them. So talking to them in that really positive way, and listening to them to understand their emotions, to build their emotional intelligence. And this will give you an incredible gift for your parenting. And parents tell me all the time that it's not just their child that's potty training, but if they have an older child, they benefit enormously. And also the one coming up gets to benefit. It's a program that you have access to for life. So if you have another child that's younger, you can come back to it. Step 3 is about getting going. So that is saying goodbye to the nappies and goodbye to the accidents. It's getting that confident and cooperative child who knows their body and willingly uses the potty. And I mentioned at the beginning, you may not have heard me, I've also got an extra special bonus section that is only available tonight. So I want you to hear about that, because I think you're going to really love it. And step 4 is about getting problem solving. So step 3 and step 4 aren't linear. You may need extra support for specific problems, or it may be that you go through the program and you need to pop back to it because you get some regression. And that can happen. Life events can cause regression. So it's always there for you to come back to, but it's got very specific research and support for those specific problems that you may have already encountered. And by the end of the program, your child will have graduated with flying colours. They'll have learnt about their body signals and know when and where to use the potty. And they'll be free of fears and feel happy and confident. And who doesn't want that? Like I've said, you know, a child that's happy and confident, a child that believes in themselves, is going to be so much more resilient when they encounter things that they feel sad about, when they encounter things that make them frightened. They are going to know that they have those resources within them because they've had the experience of getting through issues with potty training, and they've just felt so much more confident because they've got through that milestone. They get a graduation certificate. You made it. Now, that doesn't mean to say that they're 100% accident-free, but what child doesn't love to get a certificate, to show other people, to feel proud of? So you send me your photograph of your child, and I send you back the PDF of their graduation certificate that you can then print out and stick on their wall, or you can print out more than one to show other people, even to take in nursery and show them. And you will have, having gone through Potty Success Academy with me and with my support, you'll have learned tools for life for a strong connection and great communication with your child. You'll also have removed all the anxiety and are just loving hanging out with your child. I mentioned at the beginning, you know, what if you were just so chilled and you just didn't have to think about it anymore? You knew that when you collected your child from nursery or daycare, you weren't going to be presented with bags full of wet clothes and a teacher that perhaps has got a little bit frustrated by them. I have worked in nurseries. I'm a trained nursery teacher, and some teachers, it wasn't me, I promise, will show frustration when your child has endless accidents. And to be fair to them, it does really disrupt the activities if you're having to change a child. So it's so important. You also, I've mentioned already, you get the latest research and specific solutions for those extra problems that you may be encountering, the withholding, constipation, regression, or lots of accidents. And you'll get ideas for nighttime training as well. You get a huge range of printable resources. That's both all those science experiments for your children and for you. Everything is covered. I have sorted it all out for you, so you know that you've got everything you need to successfully potty train and build that connection and confidence in your child. Now, normally, just that program alone would be £395. I want you to listen because I've got a very special offer for you. Here's Stephanie. She is a GP on Instagram. She's got a massive following. She's called the GP Mum. Some of you may have heard of her. And she went on Potty Success Academy, and she said, although she's a GP, when it came to her daughter's potty training, she felt clueless. And it helped her approach it with confidence, because it actually turned out that it wasn't as straightforward as she'd imagined. So she was really thankful to have the guidance and support. And her little girl has now graduated and is, you know, completely confidently using the potty. I say potty, you can ask me questions about that at the end, because for some parents, they want to know about whether you use potty or the toilet. I've added in 3 really great bonuses because I want this program to just give you the depth that you need to get there. Plus, I just think these things are so interesting. So bonus 1, I consulted Zoe Kirby, and she gives expert advice to ensure digestive health and avoid constipation. You want a child with a healthy constitution, and she tells you from her expertise on how to avoid constipation. So with that bonus added in, it would normally be £475. I added in an extra bonus. I consulted with Hetta Trollope, who's a Norland nanny trained. That's the most prestigious nanny school in the world. And Hetta talks about how the Norland approach actually very much dovetails with my approach, but it's so interesting to hear it from her and some extra ideas from her. And also Becca Maddox, who's a daycare consultant, and she tells you, along with help from me, how to make sure that when your child is in daycare or nursery, that things continue to be successful. So that's bonus 1 and 2. And bonus 3 is through the use of an exclusive private members Facebook group. You get weekly Q&A sessions for each module of the course with me, so that I can make sure that you are supported and you get to ask your questions. You also get to jump in that Facebook group at other times when I will also answer the question that you've written. So, and you get this cheering on and the support of other parents. So the value of the Potty Success Academy with those 3 bonuses would normally be £705. I have got a really special offer on it. I want you to join me for the class of autumn, or for the North Americans with us, it's called fall. Well, we call autumn, you call it fall, the class of 2020. So I have given you a very special price of down from 705 to £249, which is approximately, working it out at today's exchange rate, is $316. I also give you the ability to split those payments so you can pay it over 2 months. This was a message from Brooke, another doctor who's called the OBGYN mum. She was messaging on the Facebook group, and there I was giving her some extra solutions. Ollie and Billy didn't know where they were going, what they were going to do with Billy's potty training. They were being totally inconsistent, and he had really made poor progress, and they were feeling incredibly stressed by it. And if that's you, if you have been feeling stressed or you want to avoid the stress, just be aware that children can become really withdrawn. They can have endless accidents, and those accidents get them down. They know that it's not the right thing to be doing. So the utter relief that Kate and Billy felt when they joined Potty Success Academy, and they found the change was instant. So they found that they had a happy child and happy parents, and they've never looked back. They say go for it, worth every penny. There, like I mentioned earlier, is an example of their graduation certificate. So here is a review of what you get. You get the 4-step proven system: get ready, get set, get going, and get problem solving. You get the nutritional advice for gut health. You get the childcare expertise. You get the exclusive Facebook group and training. And you get all the printables and diagrams and checklists that you could possibly need to make your journey smooth. And I'm going to just tell you in a second about this extra bonus that I would love you to access, but this is only available tonight. If you are interested in joining, you just want to go through to the link that's come up in the chat box. It says join PSA. So it's myparentingsolutions.com, join PSA. That goes over what I talked about that's in the program. And from there, you can click the link to join. And like I said, it's $249, or you can split the payments over 2 months. I am so confident in my program that I give you a 14-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied with the program, after going over the modules, I'll offer you a guarantee. You just need to come to me and tell me what it was that you felt didn't work for you about the program, so I get the feedback, and then I won't quibble with you. I'll give you the money back. It just gives you that reassurance. So, if you're thinking, I'm just not quite sure, that gives you the reassurance to go for it. And then if you don't like it and don't feel it's going to work for your child, I will give you your money back. So this is what it looks like inside the members area. You get your private access with your own, password. You can log in on an iPad, on a phone. There's a special app that makes it easier for you to log in, or you can log in on your laptop. So that gets you through into the members area, where you can watch in your own time each module, which has about 8 different lessons within it. That's the page that you would go through when you go to join PSA. That's what it looks like. That's where if you go through, click through to actually join, there it securely takes your card details, and you can put in the payment details, and you get immediate access to the program. This is what parents are really enjoying. Those that are joined live already, they are really excited about it. I haven't released this training yet, but it's this extra workshop bonus that's exclusive for people that have joined Potty Success Academy and have enrolled on the live workshop that they've attended. So it is dealing with tantrums and misbehavior. I talk about this to parents all the time. There are some really specific ways to help you deal with those frustrations and to help your child. And it's really tough dealing with a child that's misbehaving, that's throwing or hitting or having complete meltdowns over things. And I'm going to give you lots of extra support and ideas to help deal with tantrums and misbehavior. That extra bonus is only available when you join tonight by midnight. So I've given you till midnight so you can get off this workshop. You can go and get yourself a cup of tea or coffee or something to eat. You click through to join PSA, and that will give you, by midnight tonight, that will give you this extra special workshop bonus. I'm coming to your questions, so please hold on. But sometimes people are saying to me, and this may be the question, you know, shouldn't I just wait and see if things improve? It can go on, and I would say join the program, get all the extra bonus stuff from the program, including when you join tonight, the extra bonus workshop on misbehavior. And believe me, every child misbehaves, and it can be very difficult and frustrating, and there are so many things you can do to either avoid the misbehavior or deal with it correctly in the moment. So particularly if things have gone on and on, please, I beg you, just join me and get the support that I know that you need, and I know that you'll benefit hugely from. My child is so difficult, will it work? I really understand about difficult children. And there's everything within that program to help you to just get that difficult child on board. Children aren't willfully difficult. There will be causes, and you can see within the program how when you change your approach, you can have a massively positive impact on them. And I feel like I should work this out myself. You know, people will often say, like, sheepishly, oh, I went to Camilla and I got some support. It's like it's seen as a weakness. I see getting support with your parenting as a real strength. It's something that's a job. Children don't come with a manual. We're not taught to be good parents, and we're expected to know, and each child is so different, so we're expected to know how to deal with all those different temperaments. And, you know, I've put in the research, I've put in the work. Just let me shortcut it for you, and let me help you work it out, and kind of let me help you get that child graduated and feeling that confident and potty training is behind them. So there it is again, just to outline what's covered in the program, the 4-step system, the bonuses and all the principles, plus the Facebook group support from me, and that workshop bonus when you join by midnight tonight. So that is also, as you look on the page for checkout, you will also see if you wanted extra support from me, this is my platinum package. You can check that out. That gives you private coaching with me, if that's something that's of interest to you. So it's time for your questions. Please fire away. I'm going to just pop back up the link and the cost of Potty Success Academy. I like to call it an investment. It really is an investment, and you have lifelong access so that you can always come back to it. And you also, like I mentioned, you get the support of the Facebook group. So I think I saw a question already. Let me just see if I can scroll back to it. And if you have just joined or you missed the beginning, you will get a replay to go back to it. But if you wanted access to that toddler tantrums and misbehavior workshop, that's only available when you join tonight. So we've got someone going through the terrible twos. I thought I saw a question. Okay, maybe I missed that question, but please pop your questions up. I did get some questions earlier, so until I've got some questions from you in the chat box, I'll just go over one or two of the questions that have been asked already. So how long does it get to take through, get through the program and get the results? I recommend wherever you are in the process that you start back at the beginning. So you go back to step 1. And when I go through with you via it'll either be via the Facebook group or Zoom. I haven't quite decided how we do it. So when we go through step 1, module 1, it will you can then, you know, you'll often get extra ideas even if you're halfway through. So how long does it take? It's a program that I would recommend that you do a module a week, so that would be 4 weeks, but you can go through it quicker than that if you want to. And so, you know, you could go through it in a couple of days because you have access to all the modules, and you can just watch them in your time. So how long does it take to potty train is another question that I get asked. And it very much, I very much recommend that you put the time up front in the get ready, get set. And then when you move to the get going, you'll often find that it's way quicker. I mean, parents will tell me sometimes within 2-3 days, they've nailed it, but they've spent time up front. But it can take longer because it is a complicated skill, and each child is different. So I'm not one of those ones that says, you know, this is the 3-day potty training program, because I know that it can take longer. But it's definitely quicker when you use the skills that I teach you in modules 1 and 2, and you have got your child engaged in it, then it definitely makes it quicker. So somebody is saying here, my son is, actually I had 2 questions. Would you recommend stickers as rewards, or any rewards in general? Claire, I don't particularly, there's certain ways that you can use stickers, and actually it's to track progress. So you can use a sticker for every time they try, but what I don't like is a sticker or a reward only when they produce. Because what we're wanting, and you'll see from the program, if you decide to join me, is that we're wanting them to recognize their own body signals. And you can get into a bit of a trap when you're using rewards, is that they will sit there and try and squeeze a little drop out just to get the reward, but it isn't about teaching them to recognize their own signals. And you can also get in too much of you know, a demand for the rewards, and it's taken their focus away from what their body's telling them. But I certainly using the praise as a reward, and that's a really significant reward for a child. And when you get to grips with changing that language away from good girl into the descriptive, then that you'll see that that in itself is a massive reward for a child. So that's another reason why I don't recommend the stickers or the rewards. My son is 4 and hates the potty or the toilet. He says he doesn't like the feeling when held in poo for almost 2 weeks. He'll swirl in his pants. Mari, that's, you know, you've got a very difficult problem there. Within the program, there's a really comprehensive booklet all about withholding, which is the issue that you've got. I have had parents come through the program and really successfully sort that problem out. I would also recommend that you do that in conjunction if you've got a good doctor, because it may be that you need some extra medication for it. I can't advise on medication, but 2 weeks is a big problem. But there was lots of different ways of solving it, but it will not be an overnight thing if the problem has gone on that long. I've got another couple of more questions that were answered. Do keep yours coming. Will I have access to your help if I get stuck? Yes, you do, because you have access through the weekly, over 4 weeks, we do a check-in session where you can put your questions. And you also get my support where I answer your questions in the group. And parents find that great, and I'm always there to cheer you on. And sometimes it's just I might even direct you to which module I'd like you to review to make sure that you go over that. And I'm also constantly researching, so sometimes I might recommend an extra bit of you know, something to help you. So I've just actually come across this lovely book. I don't know if you can see that, Slip and Slide Potty Ride, which is an extra resource about singing a lovely song to a child who has a fear of poo. So things like that, I'm doing the research, and I'll drop in extra things to give you extra support. Other questions are, oh yeah, what is the refund policy? So it's a 2-week, and I'll coming back to, there was a question about special needs. I think I missed it. So it's a 14-day refund policy. I want to make sure that you get everything you need from the program. And I just ask you to tell me if you didn't like it, the reasons, and I don't quibble, I just give you your money back. But I know that, well, I can't guarantee anything. You can't guarantee anything in this world, but I have full confidence in the program, and therefore that's why I have confidence in that money back guarantee, because very, very, very few people have ever asked me for a refund. So I had a question here earlier about special needs. Will it work with the system work for a child with special needs? Yes, and I have worked with other children with people with special needs. Children have come on the program and found it very successful, and I'm always happy on the Facebook group to give little extra bits of support for that. Because it just slightly depends on what the special need is. But I have had children with developmental delays and speech delays, so it just depends on what that special need is. Somebody's saying my baby is 20 months old, started potty training, does not use her words. What's the bad way to train her so that she can tell me when I'm going out? Shireen, that's a slightly difficult question to answer, but I would always be happy if you wanted to email me to understand that question a little bit more. Other questions that I get asked frequently are, my child doesn't really initiate, so it's and when should you expect them to initiate? It's the methods that I use start off with, it's all about getting them to recognize their own body signals. But at first, you may be prompting them by noticing the signals that they're giving you. So those verbal and the non-verbal signals, and then suggesting that they use the potty. So that is more driven by you. And that's why when I say, when you've got a strong connection, when you've figured out your child, when you're working on different ways to problem solve, that's why they'd be much more likely to listen to you. So you wouldn't necessarily expect a child to initiate initially, but the stronger your connection and the stronger they take the lead from you, the quicker it is for them to learn, and therefore they start to initiate. Another question that I've got is, should I swap to pull-ups when we go out? Or you know, should we start off with pull-ups is another question. When you follow my system, I recommend that you don't use pull-ups once you've got to stage 3, which is go for it. I recommend that you remove their nappy, not at nap time or night time to start with. Nighttime training tends to come much later, but I recommend that you don't rely on pull-ups, because pull-ups are so absorbent that they just don't realize they haven't got that body sensation. So once you're in module 3, go for it. Then I recommend that you don't have pull-ups. You might use them for nap or nighttime, but not when you're trying to get a child to use the potty. Somebody said, I feel like such a failure. We tried just before the baby was born and it was disaster. All his friends are trained and I'm stressing out. There's no harm in pausing. If you have tried and you've hit, you're in a stressful life situation, like having a new baby or moving house, there's no harm in pausing, and it's all going really badly. There's no harm in pausing and coming back to it. But when you come back to it, I will always recommend that you start back on, you start with step 1, which is getting centered for you and getting centered for your child. So you want your child to graduate with flying colors, and that's what this program is going to help you do. So if you have just realized it's just not going well, or you really don't feel your child is ready, no problem. You pause, you go back to module 1, you take your time, and you gain your confidence, and you learn all the lessons to be able to reach the point when you're confident that your child is ready, and your child is ready to go for it and graduate. So that is the answer to that question. And what I also had another question, I think. Oh yeah, do you teach boys or girls differently is another question that comes up. Actually, I don't. I think that each child is different, and within the program you'll learn about different temperaments and how to train, potty train according to your child's temperament. So for me, it's much more about the child's temperament than their gender. So there may be some different things, you know, do you teach a boy to stand up to wee? Sometimes that can really work well. You can do some fun things with it, like weeing onto a Cheerio. That's another little tip that I give. But it's not about the gender, it's about the child and their temperament. So yeah, from my point of view, that's the most important thing, is figuring out your child and rather than the gender of the child, and steering your approach with my support, with all the ideas and information within Potty Success Academy, and therefore going to succeeding not according to their gender. Does the type of potty matter? Is another question. Yes, it's not so much the brand. I happen to really like Baby Bjorn because they're very well designed. But and I'd always say borrow one from a friend who's if their child has got through it. Don't have to spend a lot of money, but you really want to make sure that it's a comfortable fit for your child. So if you can, get them to road test the potty so that you know that it's a comfortable fit and it doesn't tip, because you want to make sure that it can make them a bit fearful if it tips up. I also quite like to have the insert to pull out that you can then take with your child and show them that where their poo's going, and you can tip the poo and the wee down the toilet. So definitely get a potty that's comfortable. And the other question is, should you just go straight to the toilet? When you're starting, I really recommend you use a potty. It can be quite a fearful, fear engendering, or it can make them fearful to sit straight on a toilet. It can be a bit wobbly for them unless you get a really good insert. Their legs aren't stable. Particularly for poos, you want them to have a real stability. So I recommend starting the potty, but you can move on to the toilet. And sometimes if things go really well, you can move on to the toilet really fast. Within the program, it shows you how to get, what's the word? Yeah, go out. It tells you all about that. What to do when you're using a public toilet, what to do at school, how to make sure that they're really confident and comfortable in other environments. And you can take a potty with you. There's a little potty called a potette that's quite a good travel potty. So does the potty matter? How much should I prompt? I feel like I'm really been annoying my child, or I was, this woman had stopped. Yes, it can really annoy them. And within the program, I tell you how to avoid over prompting, but still understanding that the child may need some help and support for you once you've identified what their body signals are. So, but don't over prompt, and nor do I recommend you put them on the potty every 15 minutes. It drives them mad, and you're needing to get them in tune with their body signals. And if you just keep putting them on the potty for every 15 minutes, you'll usually start to get resistance. So that's not the method that I recommend. Okay, I've talked an awful lot, and I would be very happy to take any more questions if you're there. If you have any more questions, then please do post them in the chat box. She's not ready yet to use words. Just hit me down, touch his bottom. It's what why I recommend that you start off. The aim isn't to start directly with the potty. The aim is to start by engaging them in different ways. So you wouldn't expect them to tell you when they need to go to the potty from the start. There are steps before that, and there's also a huge amount of information for you to be able to recognize what your child's signals are. So I don't think that I'm not quite sure, Tareen, if I've understood that question, but I would recommend if you join the program that you go over the start bit first, the preparation, get ready, get set, before you expect her to be without a potty, but be without a nappy. But things like touching are signs that your child has some body awareness, but there's lots of other signs that they give you that you may not be aware of. So I hope that answers that question. Just to go back over it, if you're still here and you're still interested, the workshop on tantrums, dealing with tantrums and misbehavior, is only available until midnight tonight. When you go through to check out, you will be tagged, so we know that you've checked out tonight, and that will give you access to that workshop. That is the 4-step. That's the program in its entirety, plus the Facebook group is the 4-step progress, the 3 bonuses, all the printables, diagrams and checklists, and the access to the training within the Facebook group with my support, and I'm helping you along. And what I want is for your child to graduate with flying colours from Potty Success Academy. So you can learn more by going through to the link that's in the chat box, or jot it down, myparentingsolutions.com, join PSA. That takes you through to explain a little bit more about the program, and also for you to check out. And you can put in your one payment or your split payments, depending on how you want to do it. So if I don't have any more questions, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'll leave up the link there for you, and I will switch off my microphone, but I will sit here for a little bit. So if you have another question that you've just suddenly thought of, then do pop it up in the chat box. Thank you so much for your patience and for joining me, and it's been a pleasure having you on tonight.